This Pokemon Legends EA stuff seemingly never ends, man, because more sales data is in and it's official. The cracks in Pokemon's armor are starting to be more and more obvious, and the best part is that the truth is way different than what you would see in the headlines. You see, by gaming industry standards, Pokemon Legends EA had a successful first week, but once you dig a little deeper, the trajectory of the franchise is becoming more and more obvious. And honestly, anybody who's been paying attention to the franchise over the last decade already knew this. I mean, one look at Scarlet and Violet or Pokemon Legends EA and the reality is undeniable. Pokemon is doing the bare minimum and expects maximum sales. But later in the video, we're going to take a look at some very interesting data that suggests that things might not be going as well as Nintendo wants everyone to believe. And yet to this day, when I make a video pointing out the obvious reality that Pokemon Legends EA looks like a PS3 tech demo from an indie game studio, we get bombarded by the Pokemon fanboys trying to gaslight the gaming community into thinking that Legends EA is somehow a 10 out of 10 game. Gosh, I wonder where they could have got that idea. Yeah, I'm looking at you, VGC. I love you guys, but what was that? Anyway, today we're going to be diving a little bit deeper into what exactly is going on with Nintendo's most valuable franchise and the reality that they don't want you to know. But first, what's going on, guys? Cheers. Tiger came to say hi. She said that you guys have to leave a like so you can help me fight off all of the Pokemon fanboys down there. Anyway, let's jump right in here with the sales figures from Spain. This was actually revealed a couple of days ago, and as we can see, another sales report is in for Pokemon Legends EA, this time detailing how the game performed in Spain during its first week. Let's get straight to the numbers. Between October 13th and October 19th, the game came out on the 16th, by the way, so it's that week. Pokemon Legends EA sold 89,000 physical units at retail. This was split between 53,000 copies on the Switch and 36,000 on Switch 2. If you're wondering how Legends EA did compared to other entries in the series in Spain, it's actually towards the bottom of the list. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet set a record with 198,000 copies sold at launch, which is about double that of Pokemon Legends EA. By the way, Scarlet and Violet was the most recent game in the series. Also worth noting that ZA is behind Arceus, which also did 140,000 units. So here we can see the full ranking here. Scarlet and Violet 198, Sun and Moon 184. That was all the way back on the 3DS. Okay, Legends Arceus 140, Sword and Shield 123.5, Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl at 122,000, and then in sixth place we have Legends EA with 89,000 units. Okay, but that's just Spain. Like, what are we talking about? It's just Spain. Let's take a look at some more information that came out here today. Pokemon Legends EA captures #1 in Europe, but it's the smallest mainline Pokemon launch since 2018. That is 7 years ago, folks. This is the weakest mainline game launch in 7 years, and it's a solid launch for the new Pokemon title, but its launch sales are roughly 28% lower than its predecessor, 2022's Pokemon Legends Arceus. The game is available across both Nintendo platforms, but has been pushed as a key Switch 2 game, and in the UK at least, Pokemon Legends EA has sold best on the newer machine despite a vastly inferior install base. It's the smallest mainline Pokemon release in terms of unit sales since Pokemon Let's Go games came out in 2018. And then here we can see the European top 10 unit sales week ending October 19th. But here's where it gets crazier, right? Pokemon Legends EA being the weakest mainline Pokemon launch since Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee isn't even just a European thing, that's actually a global thing. I tweeted this the other day. Pokemon Legends EA was a massive sales success, but there's no denying the fact that it sold worse than the 4 games immediately preceding it, despite a larger install base and another extra day of sales. Now remember, this is what we're looking at in this table right here. This is global sales as reported by Nintendo and the Pokemon company. So this is not just Europe, this is official global numbers, and you can see here that Pokemon Legends EA is in 5th place. The only Switch game that sold worse than that is the Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee titles, which again came out in 2018. So Legends EA had the worst opening week for any Pokemon game in the last 7 years, despite having a larger install base. That's actually kind of insane. But then you see headlines like this: Pokemon Legends EA became the 5th best-selling game in franchise history, selling 5.8 million copies in the first week. I'm sorry, since when does anyone care about 5th place? So now we're spinning it as if 5th place is some sort of achievement. Like, what is every media outlet just terrified of the backlash from the Pokemon fan base? Like, am I gonna be the one that has to say it? Actually, no, let Nelly say it. If I can quote the infamous Nelly from 2001, he said, 2 is is not a winner and 3 nobody remembers. Okay, so if we ain't even remembering 3rd place, boys, what the hell is 5th place? Most people don't even know who the 5th president of the United States is because nobody cares about 5th place. Okay, I know all the history nerds are saying it's James Monroe. Congratulations, you got a cookie. But my point is, these headlines are crazy. They're glazing the game. And like, look, again, conventionally successful launch, of course, 5.8 million copies. They're rolling in dough. And honestly, the use of Mr. Krabs here couldn't be more appropriate because he's greedy. All he cares about is money, making a quick buck, making an easy dollar. And that is the exact philosophy that the Pokemon company has had for the better part of a decade at this point. But wait, I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. You're gonna say, wait a minute, the sales data from Circana is in as reported by Matt Piscatello, which we've talked about on the channel before. Shout out to Matt, very consistently sharing this data. I appreciate him. Pokemon Legends EA had a massive US launch at retail. Launch week physical unit and dollar sales of Pokemon Legends EA were the biggest for a new physical game launch since the Legends of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom back in May of 2023. Source Circana retail tracking service. So that sounds good, right? And like, hey, objectively, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good number. Congratulations to Pokemon. But then I think about like, okay, well, wait, this is new physical game sales. Okay, so why would Pokemon Legends EA be such a good seller when it comes to physical copies? Well, maybe it's the narrative that game key cards are horrible, and here we have a Switch 2 game that actually isn't a game key card. Or maybe it's the fact that every retailer under the sun was bundling the game with some sort of freebie or incentive for you to buy the physical cartridge as opposed to pre-ordering it digitally. Can we be honest with ourselves here, right? I mean, like, of course it's going to sell more physical copies than the yearly Call of Duty, because Call of Duty, who cares? They're not giving anything out cool anymore. Back in the day, they used to give out cool stuff with pre-orders. Now Pokemon's one of the only ones that still does it, and so of course it's going to sell super well physically when you've got Walmart giving out starter pins, the Pokemon Center also giving out different starter pins, Best Buy's giving out a free gaming mat, which they claim is a $30 value. I have no idea what that is. And also Best Buy rewards members appear to get a free month of Nintendo Switch Online. GameStop gave out in-game trench coat and pants outfits, and if you went to the midnight launch, you got an exclusive tote bag. So in a world where all these retailers are doing the absolute most to make sure that you go into their store to buy Pokemon on a physical cartridge, it's really no wonder that it would sell better than everything else. Now, as you guys know, I'm a very logical being, right? I'm a very logical individual, so I will concede that other games do in fact give out freebies with their pre-orders. Even Super Mario Bros. Wonder, which came out at the end of 2023, also gave out some freebies at different retailers. So okay, I don't want to dookie on their victory too hard because it's still impressive stuff here. Okay, like, credit where credit is due, but I mean, can we at least be honest here and agree that most game launches are hoping that everyone buys digital? Meanwhile, Pokemon has a different strategy, so it's not completely apples to apples here. Okay, but let's take a look at another really interesting data point that I don't see almost anybody talking about, but I do think that it reveals some of the cracks in Pokemon's armor. Let me ask you guys a question. All right, if you're excited about a game, like there's a new game coming out, whether it's the new Madden or Call of Duty or whatever the case might be, you're excited about a new game, maybe it's Pokemon. Okay, what are some behaviors that you have leading up to and throughout the launch of the game? Let's say you want to know more information about the game before it comes out, right? What are you going to do? What if you want to know if the game is worth it or not? What are you going to do? What if you want to see the reviews? What if you want to know the pre-order bonuses? What are you going to do in order to find out that information? Well, I think the answer is pretty simple. You're going to go to Google and you're going to type in Pokemon Legends EA pre-order bonus. Pokemon Legends EA, is it good? Pokemon Legends EA, is it worth it? Pokemon Legends EA reviews. You're going to Google the game that you're interested in, right? And again, this is not exclusive to Pokemon. This is just normal human behavior. I do this, you do this. Everyone does this. Unless you're like a diehard fan and you don't even care if the game's good and you're just going to buy it anyway. A majority of people, like, at least even if you know you're going to buy it, you're still curious, right? You're still just going to look it up, see what's going on. So let's actually take a look at the Google Trends data for Pokemon Legends EA, because I think it actually paints a really interesting picture here. Okay, let's take a look at the search data around the launch of the game. Obviously, the search data actually peaks on launch day. That's no surprise whatsoever. And in fact, the interest for the game holds within the next 2 days, right? You can see the hype builds up the 2 days prior and boom, it peaks on launch day. Okay, let's take a look at what countries were most interested in Pokemon Legends EA. The ones that were looking up the game the most, they were Googling it the most, they were curious, they were doing their research. Let's see who it was. Okay, well, Japan, of course. Nintendo's a Japanese company. Everyone over there loves Nintendo. And look, people around the world love Nintendo. Let's be real. Okay, but Japan was by far the most popular region for Pokemon Legends EA interest on and around launch day. Let's go ahead and take a look here. The United States comes in at 32, number 7 here, and that's excluding the low search volume regions. If we actually include all regions, we can actually see that United States is number 10 in terms of interest by region. That's interesting, right? I mean, the United States is a huge market for Pokemon. Like, you would expect the United States to be going crazy for Pokemon, right? Well, I know what you're saying, Omniarch. Like, what data even is this? Like, we don't have any like reference point. We don't even know if that's good or not, right? Well, okay, let's take a look at Legends Arceus. Let's do the exact same thing. This is the 4 days surrounding Pokemon Legends Arceus's release, right? We're looking at the trending interest of the game, web search for those 4 days, and as you can see, the interest actually builds and builds up through the launch. And what do we know? If we check by region, the United States is a 70, but it comes in at number 4 here. Okay, now we'll see that the surrounding regions are pretty similar. Of course, Japan is actually much lower in 2022. I suspect maybe they were still dealing with maybe the lockdown or something like that, and so people weren't as interested in their hobbies. I don't know what was going on there. I don't live there. Okay, but we could see that like Hong Kong, Taiwan, Singapore, these are all the same regions between the top interest regions for both games, except with ZA, the United States is significantly lower. So, okay, we could see that the interest in the United States relative to other countries was pretty high for Legends Arceus, but it wasn't as high for Legends ZA, but there was a Pokemon game release in between there. So let's take a look at what that was. Let's see what Scarlet and Violet was like around its launch, and we can see once again, just like with Legends ZA, Japan is number 1, but we have to click over to the next tab to see the United States at a 17, coming in at 8th place here. Okay, now look, I want to be very clear here that you really have to understand how this data actually works when we talk about interest per region. So this isn't, you know, a bulletproof argument. This is not concrete data that like, oh, nobody cares about Legends ZA in the United States, but I do think that this is another loose point on the graph that suggests that interest in Pokemon, at least for Legends ZA and for Scarlet and Violet, online interest and Google searches for these games are lower than they were for Pokemon Legends Arceus. I mean, it just is what it is. Now, I mentioned this in a previous video, but one of my theories for Pokemon Legends ZA selling worse than Legends Arceus and worse than Scarlet and Violet, there's many reasons. Of course, Scarlet and Violet is 2 versions, right? So it's going to sell more, obviously. But one of my theories was that a lot of the Pokemon fans were kind of burned by Scarlet and Violet, and they felt some type of way. And honestly, lots of you guys have just straight up told me that in the comments section. I've seen thousands of comments from you guys saying that Sword and Shield was the final nail in the coffin for you, or that Scarlet and Violet was the final nail in the coffin for you. Like, for some of you, it was Legends ZA, right? Like, this seems to be the trend, but I do think that Scarlet and Violet was a breaking point for a lot of people. It was for me. I could speak from my own experience. Beating that game was like pulling teeth for me, and I didn't actually buy the DLC. I said absolutely not. This game wasn't even worth it to begin with. Hell no am I getting the DLC. So that's one of my theories. Now, you could agree or disagree, totally fine, right? Again, this is nothing concrete. I don't even know what I'm talking about. I'm like one of the biggest goofballs on the internet. Okay, we're talking about video games. But if you don't buy the Google Trends data, you think that it's inaccurate, or you don't think it paints an accurate picture, whatever the case may be, totally fine. I'm not going to try to convince you. But let me ask you this: when you go to the mall, right? Let's say you go to the mall, you need new jeans. All right, you need to get a new pair of jeans because it's the school year is coming, or you're going back to work, or you're whatever the case might be. You ripped a hole in your pants. Okay, you go to the store, whatever store it is. Maybe you like the Gap, okay, or maybe you prefer Hollister or whoever else sells jeans. I don't even know. And out front they have this big sign, right, and it says sale up to 30% off, right? And then there's a little asterisk, right? And you already know that little up to that's annoying, right? But trust me, I'm getting somewhere with this. Okay, just listen to the analogy, wait for it. Okay, the sale is up to 30% off. You're looking for jeans, but there's an asterisk. You look at the asterisk on the very bottom, and it says in tiny letters, it says some exclusions may apply, right? You go into the store to get those jeans because, hey, you like the jeans, it's a bestseller, it's one of your favorite pair of jeans. Okay, turns out they're not on sale. Why is that, right? Let's just use a little bit of logic. Why would the jeans not be on sale? Well, logic would dictate that the jeans are excluded from the sale because they sell anyway. Does that make sense? I mean, the whole point of a sale is to move units, right? It's to still make a profit, but it's to get people in the store and buy product, right? Of course they're still making a profit, right? But the jeans, they know they're going to sell those jeans whether they're on sale or not, so they're excluded from the sale. Why would you sell it for less when you could sell it for more and make more money? How does this have to do with Pokemon Legends ZA? I'll answer that question right now, folks, because this is what happened on the Pokemon Center website just a couple of days ago. In fact, Wario64 or posted over on Twitter that the Pokemon Center website is taking 15% off any order apparently at checkout. So that is the official Pokemon website, PokemonCenter.com. Anything that you put in your cart was 15% off, and users quickly found out that Pokemon Legends EA for the Nintendo Switch 2 was part of that 15% off sale. You could get the latest and, some would say greatest, Pokemon game for 15% off just what, a week or a week and a half after launch? So wait a minute, hang on. Okay, so if we use our basic logic, basic understanding of business and how sales work, one would dictate that if a product is selling super well, you don't need to put it on discount. People are just going to come and buy it anyway. But yet we still see that they put Legends EA for 15% off on their website. Now look, let me be clear here, this is a great deal, right? I mean, hey, I'm all for what's best for the consumer and what's best for the customer, okay? And if you're a gamer and you wanted Legends EA and you were able to wait a little bit, you got 15% off, and that's fantastic for the customer. So I am applauding the Pokemon Center for doing this. That's fantastic. Like, good, give us a deal, right? Like, gamers are price sensitive right now, everything's too expensive, so putting it on sale already, hey, that's fantastic. For those of you that had a little bit of self-control, you waited a little bit for the game to come out, you got a pretty good deal, right? It's not the best deal, but it adds up. I mean, it's $10. I mean, like, why not? But the fact remains that if Pokemon Legends EA was still flying off the shelves, why would they discount it? Why would they include it in the website wide sale if it was already selling? It doesn't make any sense. Now again, not really complaining about it because it's great for the consumer, right? I'm glad they did it, but I think it would be logical to conclude that they had a ton of extra copies and they wanted to sell them, and so of course they're going to include it in the discount. So now that we've dug a little bit deeper, what did we learn? Well, Pokemon is not doing super well in Spain. It's also not doing super well in Europe. It's the 5th best selling game in the franchise, which means it's the worst selling mainline game in 7 years, but I mean, you just spin that however you want. We found that online interest in the game is being carried by Japan lately from what we can tell, and we also see that they're already putting the game on sale on the official Pokemon website. So I think this is where you have to have a more sophisticated understanding of this information in order to really paint the picture about what's going on with the Pokemon franchise, okay? Because Pokemon can have a fantastic launch week. It could be the best selling game in the US for the first time since May of 2023 or whatever. It can go on to sell 5.8 million copies and everyone's like, oh my god, the game's so successful, right? And yet it can still be the case that the franchise is officially in decline. Those things are not mutually exclusive, and I think this is why like the Pokemon fans that are just blindly and emotionally attached to the franchise, right? Their brain tissue was replaced with Elmer's glue. It's just ain't nothing going on in there, right? It's just they come to my videos, right, and they think that I'm sitting here talking about, oh, the game is flopping, it's horrible. Like, no, I've been very clear here. The game sold very well and it will continue to go on to sell well. It's going to sell well through holiday and ultimately will probably sell about 13 million units. That's what I think. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe it'll be more than that, whatever the case might be, right? That is obviously what the outcome is going to be. And yet the whole point of my videos here has been that there are obvious cracks in the Pokemon armor. The flaws are abundant. People are waking up and realizing that they can no longer ignore the obvious reality that is directly in front of their faces. And that reality is this, where the developers can't even bother to make the buildings look like they belong together. The game is ugly, it's rushed, it's not complete. They cut a million corners to get this thing to run on the Switch 1, and yet the game is still tiny. It's unimpressive. It's clearly the bare minimum from the most valuable franchise in the entire world. And so the Pokemon fans will go around asking like, oh my god, why is there so much backlash? Or, oh, the game looks like it's selling pretty well. Like, what's everyone talking about? It's like, can you just think about it for like 2 seconds instead of just reading a headline and then getting angry? This is one of the things that I see on Twitter all the time. Like, we see tweets like this, right? Just seen a grifter go on about how ZA had the worst Pokemon launch. My dudes, it's not even the worst Pokemon launch on the Switch. Tell me you only read titles and thumbnails without telling me you only read titles and thumbnails, right? Pokemon and Nintendo really have a big hate grifting problem, and this nonsense drowns out all actual valid criticism. Is it just hate and grifting, or is there actually criticism in the videos but you're not watching the videos because you don't want to hear it? Or are you just reading the titles and thumbnails? Like, it's okay, you can be honest. Or maybe you're doing the thing that Pokemon fans love to do more than anything, and I've found this out personally. You will go out out of your way to find videos that piss you off, and then you'll interpret them in the most disingenuous way possible. Maybe that's what's going on here, perhaps. And can I just say, I'm getting really tired of the word grifting. I feel like everybody is using it all the time now and nobody even knows what it means. In case you guys were wondering, a grift is engaging in petty or small scale swindling, which is using deception to deprive someone of money or possessions. It's also defined as obtaining money fraudulently. Boys, is criticizing a multi-billion-dollar company considered criminal fraud now? Oh, is that okay? Yes, that's right. Everyone who criticizes Nintendo on YouTube is paid secretly under the table by a shadowy government organization, okay? Or maybe these videos are secretly sponsored by Sony just to dookie all over Nintendo. Like, can we be serious for a second? Maybe we could just apply Occam's razor and come to the conclusion that actually people are criticizing it because the game sucks. I mean, it kind of is that simple, like, right? I mean, what are we talking about? But I'm over here trying to use like logic and have an honest discussion with you guys about like, okay, yeah, the game is selling really well, but like, isn't it pretty clear that like it's a lot of genuine backlash and criticism for the game, and oh, okay, it's sold worse than any other game in the last 7 years, and okay, it's in 5th place for best selling, right? And oh, look, it's selling worse in Spain, and it's selling worse in the UK, and it's selling worse in Europe, and oh, okay, internet searches for the game are down compared to previous games. So, like, we're plotting a bunch of dots on the graph, and eventually you can make a line, which is it's a valid logical conclusion to come to, even if you disagree with it. But then I realized the reason why there's so much gaslighting and backlash to videos like this one is, one, because I present things very bluntly and people don't really like that, but also this is the Pokemon community, right? A brand new game comes out, what are people talking about? Oh, they're talking about your perfect Pokemon Legends ZA Mega Evolution according to your zodiac sign. New mega versions of horoscopes just dropped. Like, what look at this, forget the ZA Royale, I'm living my best Pokemon life with my Bulbasaur in Lumio City. There are two reasons why I bought Pokemon Legends ZA. The first was for Tepig, as I wanted to reunite with one of my earlier starters from Pokemon Black. The second reason was Bulbasaur. The grass poison type is my favorite Pokemon, and I've missed having him by my side for a long time, so that was enough to draw me in, even if other parts of the experience filled me with doubt. That was it, just two Pokemon, and you're oh yeah, here's my $70. Sorry, what, dude? Oh my god, boys, we are never getting another good Pokemon game. We are cooked. We are absolutely cooked. It's like that South Park episode with Honey Boo Boo and James Cameron. The bar has been lowered so low that it is literally thousands of feet down, deep within some ocean trench. Like, the bar is imperceivably low at this point. And look no further than the Legends ZA subreddit, right? Like 2.9 thousand upvotes. It's just a picture of somebody with their Arbok, right? Like, I get what they're doing here. It's supposed to look like James from the anime. Like, I get it, right? But the whole subreddit is filled with stuff like this. These people don't care about whether the game is good. They're just taking cute pictures. Like, brother, you spent $70 just to stand around and make poses with a Pokemon? And like, look, if that makes you happy, like, go for it, right? But I'm just using this as another point on the graph. Like, I just don't understand Pokemon fans anymore. They just don't care about the games. They'll buy it no matter what. No, they'll pretend like it's good, and as long as they can take cute pictures and justify their zodiac, I guess that's all that matters now. Like, this is gaming in 2025. But ladies and gentlemen, not all hope is lost, because there are some very intelligent individuals out there who are finally waking up to the reality that Pokemon is just selling us the bare minimum over and over and over again. This is a discussion over on Reddit where this user says, so how good is Pokemon Legends EA exactly? Costco is selling it for $64 and I'm thinking about spending my money on it while the deal lasts. Despite my disappointment in the franchise as of late, I still want to give ZA the benefit of the doubt and see if it's actually a well-made game. Oh, brother. Oh, yikes. If you watched any of my videos, then you know that this mentality right here, despite my disappointment, I still want to buy it. That's the mentality that guarantees we continue to get the bare minimum. And I know it's hard. I know you like the franchise. I know it's nostalgic. I get it, right? That used to be me, but you can't keep giving them your money. You just can't. That's the only way that we can get a quality product anymore, is to not give them your money. If you have to buy it, just wait and get it used. And by the way, this is the actual Pokemon subreddit. Okay, so this is like, these are all fans of the game. And this user says, just letting you know, the buildings are cubes with PNG textures slapped onto it. No third dimensionality to the textures in the building, just a literal PNG. So flat balconies, windows, railings, etc. It's much worse than it sounds, by the way. This user says it's not really a city. It's more like playing in a maze. Every building is closed off. 5 out of 10. This person says, actually true. That's a super valid complaint. Pokemon has lost its way and no one can really truly point out why. My thinking, early titles treated the map itself as a puzzle that you slowly unlocked and solved. Going from point A to point B was never a simple task, and it forced exploration and a sense of mysticism. This was so seamless that people didn't even realize they were traversing a gigantic puzzle the entire entire time along. Now this is somewhat true. Some of the games are super linear, but like red, blue, and yellow for sure was the case. Like you could actually skip Koga and go right to Sabrina if I remember correctly. You didn't actually have to do those gyms in any particular order. This user says it's good but not worth 60 to 70 bucks. This is the real answer, they say. This person says after seeing how lackluster the game is, yeah, I'd get the game if it ever dropped to 30 bucks with $10 DLC, because no way it's worth 60 to 70 with $30 DLC. $30 is an extremely fair price for this game, to be honest, with the DLC being 10 like you said. Caesar says ZA is a $20 game. They give us the bare minimum, so we pay the bare minimum. Seems fair to me. Bang on, 30 bucks max. I love this response. I give it a solid 2.8 out of 10. Kind of regret buying it, knowing I was probably going to be let down. We officially have buyer's remorse, folks. This person says they already refunded it. Someone says at least you got your money back just in time, unlike the Colt. This user goes, I'm kind of bored so far, but still early on in the game, but it just feels a bit mindless right now. Low-key kind of regret getting it. Hope it gets better because I love Pokemon, but it's been so lacking lately. So that is another buyer's remorse, ladies and gentlemen. We've got another regretter. We've got a post over on should I buy this game subreddit, and someone says, is ZA worth getting? I liked many of the previous games like Shield and Legends Arceus, but I skipped Scarlet and Violet. I heard many mixed reviews about ZA, such as the graphics, but I think that as long as the game is fun, the graphics can be overlooked. So is the game fun? Is it replayable, etc., etc.? This user says I got the game for free and it was still too expensive. This user says no. Worth is the word you use, so let me try to explain this super duper clearly. No Pokemon game is worth $70. These games barely pass for 40 bucks today, and that is being generous, insanely generous. Now look, I think some Pokemon games are worth 70 bucks. Okay, I'm a little biased. Soul Silver, I think that game was solid, and back then that game was like what, with the Pokewalker was like 50, I think. Person says for 70 dollars, no buddy, you are much better off playing Expedition 33. That game is a masterpiece and you are going to play it. You can thank me later. Stop giving Game Freak money. This user says almost 40 hours in, and honestly, if you have to ask, don't get it. It gets worse over time. If I hadn't been bedridden, I would have played something else since Monday. Nah, Legends EA is a downgrade. No, Game Freak has unlimited money. They can make whatever they want. This is slop. No, I paid for it and I just regret it completely. Folks, we have another buyer's remorse here in chat. Gameplay has been further simplified and somehow easier since it has become more about just pressing the button, not on cooldown. The world is a circle with boxes with just PNGs on each side. The wild zones are abysmal. I said this would be my last Pokemon game. If this game is bad, I'm not buying another Pokemon game now, since I enjoyed Sword and Shield and Arceus but didn't like Scarlet and Violet, but at least I felt a desire to continue playing them to completion. I just don't even feel a desire to play this game. This is the first Pokemon game on release where I'm not playing it 24/7 for the first few days. Even worse graphically, I was playing Yakuza Kiwami 1, a 10-year-old game, and then moved on to Pokemon ZA, which just made the game even more disappointing that they can't make a building look nice. Let's stop buying it so Nintendo actually invests some money into making the games good. This person says it is not worth $70. So there you have it, folks. I mean, a lot of people already have buyer's remorse for Pokemon Legends ZA, and these posts were from 9 or 10 days ago, so they felt this way pretty much out of the gate. People are waking up, and for a lot of people, this was the final straw. This was the nail in the coffin. They gave Pokemon one more try and they let them down yet again. And it's the same thing, like I said, with Scarlet and Violet. There's like no buildings you can go into. Do you understand how stupid that is? I was playing Pokemon Y 2 days ago, genuinely, because I missed the game. All this talk about Mega Evolution, I was like, oh, let me go back to an actual good game with Mega Evolution. And it's just night and day. You can go in all the different buildings and talk to the NPCs, and sometimes you get a little reward for doing that. It's almost like going into each individual building is like its own little loot drop. You might get something, right? You never know, so you got to check them all. You got to talk to everybody. The new Pokemon games are just so bland. There's just no reason. You can't explore anything. The open world is not, it's like, yeah, it's open, but ain't nothing there. And I know what you're thinking, Omniarch, you just cherry picked a bunch of negative comments about the game. Yeah, no shit. This is a video that is criticizing Pokemon Legends ZA. This video is clearly negative towards the game. I can't believe you guys. You click on the video, you know it's going to piss you off, and then you get mad that it pisses you off. It's like, dude, you clicked on the video. It's your fault. These are perfectly good examples. Yes, they're cherry picked, but they're from the Pokemon subreddit. And if even the people in the Pokemon subreddit are saying that this game is not worth $70, they have buyer's remorse, they regret getting it, the cracks in the Pokemon armor are obviously starting to show. Anyway, guys, if you made it to the end of the video, drop a thumbs up on it. It really helps me fight off all the Pokemon fans that are going to be down there dropping dislikes and hate comments. And you might think you're subscribed, but you're actually not. So just double check down below.